Good morning, everyone. My name is Gianna Spada. I'm from Hendersonville, North Carolina. I went to App State, roll nears. I majored in recreation management. My job placement this year has been with the Young Explorer Society, which is where all these people are coming from, pretty much. I have lived with Stephen and Emily Royo and their daughter Elowen, who are in the back. And I have been worshiping at North Shore Fellowship. Picture this. You have never been whitewater rafting before, but today is the day. You've looked forward to this for a while now, and the river waits in all its glory. No amount of Googling Class 4 whitewater can prepare you for what you know you're about to experience. You arrive at the rafting company feeling an odd mix of nerves and excitement. You're handed a waiver, maybe skipping the fine print. You sign where the X is and pray that nothing actually goes wrong. You're moved along to the safety briefing, where you're told all the important information and the story of a poor Boy Scout whose teeth were knocked out just last week. Again, leaving you praying that all goes as planned. As PFDs, helmets, and paddles are distributed, imposter syndrome sets in, making you acutely aware of your inability to get yourself down the river on your own. All the while bringing to light the immense gift of proper gear, a 15-minute safety briefing, and a good guide. This is the Fellows Program in a nutshell. Just a few short months ago, we left our opening retreat, knowing a little about each other, knowing a lot about what we were getting ourselves into, yet knowing almost nothing about what it would be like to actually experience a Fellows year. We kickstarted it with none other than a whitewater rafting trip down the Ocoee River, an experience I'll never forget. One of my favorite moments from the trip was when Abby and I were instructed to get down on the floor of the raft while our guide took us upstream into a hole to surf it. He made it pretty clear we were going to get a face full of water, but as the boat dropped down, Abby screamed so loud and her mouth was wide open, and as he promised, we got a face full of water. This moment will forever come to mind when someone mentions the metaphor, drinking from a fire hose. Surprise, surprise. These past 9 months have felt a lot like this moment on the water that day. Information, ideas, challenges, really, really good things, coming at us fast and seemingly all at once. I went into the year wishing for the superhuman ability to grasp everything that we learned, and as you can guess, I wasn't able to. Yet, the Lord was working within my capacity to speak to and grow me in unique ways. This morning, I would love to share with you just a few of the impacts and moments that the Lord used to teach me this year, and I'll be doing it through the lens of an unforgettable adventure, our whitewater rafting trip. So fun. So, for faith, a very common phrase we've heard this year has been about taking the next faithful step. At first read, it seems simple enough. I have faith, I can take a step. But what about when it isn't so simple? This phrase makes frequent appearances in my conversations these days, but I don't often slow down to understand what these words really mean. Before we launched, our raft guide told us that as long as we listened and did what he instructed us to do, we could trust him and we would be fine. But on the water, as we approached the rapids, I found myself becoming fearful at what lay ahead. From the back of the boat, he yelled commands for us to paddle a certain number of times on certain sides of the boat, once or twice positioning us to go down the rapids sideways. I can remember vividly the doubt that surfaced when he would tell us what to do, or when he didn't. Why are we hitting the rapids sideways? Why aren't we going to the right instead? While he did send us sideways into the rapids once for a fun flip, he never intentionally put us in danger. And it doesn't take a genius to know that he knew the river a lot better than I did. Someone once told us that taking the next faithful step sometimes just means taking a step taken in faith that the Lord will guide. The next faithful step might look like me paddling when I'm told to paddle. Because even though I have no clue why I'm going sideways, I am confident I can trust the man in the back of my boat who is steering. Another way that I've grown in my faith this year has been in recognizing the value of daily habits. A quote I read recently from Tim Keller says, "Most of the things that change us most deeply, we don't even notice at the time. There are many forces shaping us, and we can rarely say exactly what they were or when they happened. We just wake up and find that we're different." As I reflect on this year, I can't pinpoint each of the exact moments that have shaped me into who I am right now, but I can confidently say that I am not the person I was 9 months ago. Whether it's through spiritual formation each Monday morning, community dinner each Monday night, daily prayer as I get in my car to drive, going on a run, hanging out with friends between classes, or washing the dishes, I've begun to experience the goodness that can accompany consistency and perseverance, even in the less glamorous areas of life. Civic engagement. This year, we have attended numerous conferences, visited with nonprofits around the city each week, and in the spring semester, we were given several opportunities to choose organizations around Chattanooga to serve with. Through these opportunities, I would dare to say that my eyes have been opened more than ever before to the beauty and brokenness present in our world and in our city. I'm going to relate this part of my year to a part of the rafting trip called Riding the Bull. Riding the Bull happened at a section of the river where they let one person sit on the front of the boat while we rode down a wave train. As we approached, our guide introduced the concept, and there was only a quick moment to choose someone and get them in position before it was too late. I remember scrambling to the front, swinging my feet out over the boat, and being so hesitant to scoot any closer. I forgot to put pictures in here. Robert was the other bull rider on the other boat. And I remember looking at pictures of Robert, and he was like way out over the edge. He looked so cool. And I was like, dang, I was like in the boat pretty much. I was like not even riding the bull. So to make the point, as silly as it feels to admit that I was fearful, I was. But lucky for me, it makes the analogy stronger. It was new. I had never been on the front of a whitewater raft before. We were going straight into it, no skirting it or sugarcoating it, and it was uncomfortable at times. Coming into this year, I hoped I would learn about my vocation. I prayed I would build community with others, and I expected to grow in my faith, but I honestly didn't spend too much time thinking about what civic engagement would look like. I hadn't ever learned about the importance of civic engagement, and if I had, I guess I hadn't listened. Yet, as we took our national conference to DC, as we did yard work with Widows Harvest Ministries, as we ran the LifeSpring 5K, and as we learned the heavy history of Chattanooga, this idea of civic engagement slowly laid roots in my life. I can see how I have been challenged by what it means to be truly involved in the needs of the community around me, facing the brokenness of the place that I live, and yet I have been encouraged in learning about the many ways that people in the city have already begun to seek restorative change through good work. What a gift it is to be a part of that. This year, my job placement has been with the Young Explorers Society, also known as YES. YES is a homeschool semester program that inspires and enables kids to enjoy creation through well-rounded outdoor adventure education. And it is awesome. I started the year excited to have an outdoor job, but quickly realized I was only scratching the surface of all there was to be excited about. From hiking, paddling, and rock climbing, to stewardship projects and meaningful conversation about friendship, forgiveness, and experiencing wonder, this job has been rich and fulfilling in ways I can only begin to describe. I can honestly say that the Lord has been teaching me just as much as the kids, if not more, through each challenge, lesson, and conversation. This might sound a little cheesy, and I'm leaning into the theme here, but if there's one thing I've taken away from our vocational lunch speakers, it's this. Finding your vocation isn't about reaching the end of the river. It's about how you show up in the river, with courage and chaos, with grace and uncertainty, with curiosity and the unknown, all while remembering that you're probably going to swim. There will be highs and there will be lows, and my vocational journey has been no exception to that. During our trip down the Ocoee, we had 2 boats for the 12 of us, which also meant we had 2 guides. My guide was known as Tito, a nickname earned from falling off a bus after drinking too much Tito's. He had been a guide for over a decade and was well versed in the ways of whitewater rafting, displaying a confidence and wisdom that only comes with time and experience. In contrast, the other boat had a first-year raft guide, nicknamed Rookie, who confidently displayed his novice when he landed on Ralston mid-jump during a photo op. Ironically, I remember thinking how sucky it would feel to be the rookie. But surprise, surprise, it was me. Despite not being a complete rookie in the field I worked in this year, I still often found myself in unfamiliar territory. This aspect of my year has been one of the most fulfilling and yet at times scariest parts. But I've discovered that there's growth in saying yes to things that scare you. My yes to this job, no pun intended, led me to feel underqualified at times, and yet opened the door to some of the most transformative experiences of my life. And in those uncertain places, God met me and continues to meet me. He has revealed gifts I didn't know I had, a love of teaching, a surprising confidence in leading, and a deep joy in watching kids discover themselves and the world around them. I've always found purpose in my work, even in part-time college jobs. But this year, that purpose has taken on a new shape. It's not about just doing something meaningful. It's about realizing how I've been uniquely made and gifted. The relationships I formed through this job, with the kids, the moms, and with my bosses and other staff, have been some of the richest rewards and motivating factors that are keeping me in Chattanooga. Now, I know the Fellows Program pays us to say that we haven't found our vocation yet, but I have to be honest, this job has pointed me towards mine in ways that I never expected. I'm not saying I have it all figured out, but I have gotten a glimpse of how I've been created, of areas that need growth, and where my passions and abilities meet the needs of not only the world, but also this small corner of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Last but not least, community. This year has been full of change, full of growth, and full of people. When I was applying for fellows, one of the main draws to the program for me was having a built-in community, a pre-planned group of people for me to be friends with. Simple, right? Wrong. As Teddy Roosevelt said, nothing worth having comes easy. Lucky for me, though, the Chattanooga Fellows Program is intentionally built around this idea of community, not as a buzzword, but as a way of life. Through spiritual formation, quality time, and the often underrated practice of forgiveness, we've been invited to do the slow, messy work of becoming rooted in relationship. In the beginning, we hit the ground running, doing things that help foster this. Community dinners at people's homes around the city, living with host families who welcomed us in as a part of their lives, and spending countless hours with other fellows, sharing deep and vulnerable stories before we even knew each other's favorite color. There have been hard days, times where we misunderstood one another or really pushed each other's buttons, but I thank the Lord for the gift of bringing this group of people together who were bought into the vision of what Justin Wiltmont Early calls covenant friendship in his book, Made for People, which we read the summer before we all met each other. To me, this idea of covenant friendship laid the foundation of what relationships could look like this year. Friendships that don't stick around when it's convenient, but fight to stay. One of the great joys in living in rich community this year has been how quickly I felt supported, not just by fellows, but by my mentor, my bosses and their families, my host family, and the hundreds of other connections we've made in the city. People who have no obligation to care, and yet they do. People who've opened their homes, their schedules, and their lives to walk with me and to invest in me, and also feed me lots of really good food. That's not something I take lightly. It's humbling to be loved so tangibly by someone, especially when they barely know you yet. Many of these families and individuals have set beautiful examples of radical generosity that, although I know I can never repay, I hope I can begin to model in my own life. I've been blessed this year to be surrounded by friends and mentors who have different strengths and weaknesses than I do. Praise God for friends who are more empathetic than me, who are more patient than me, more secure than me, and more confident than me. Friends who challenge, inspire, and help me see all the ways that I need the Lord's help. They have reminded me that being a better friend is part of being a better person, and that through our friendship we can challenge each other to look more like Christ and give each other grace when we fall short. As I look back, I definitely don't see a perfect year, but I see a faithful one. Faithful in the sense that God was faithful, and so were we. Faithful to the calling of being known and knowing others, of showing up when it's easier not to, and of building something real and invaluable even when it's hard. I've learned that community is not about being perfect, it's about being committed. It's about letting myself be shaped by people who reflect the character of Jesus in ways that I'm still learning to. It's about letting my rough edges get softened in the process, because we all know I have a lot of them. Praise God for friends who remember what matters when I forget, people who remind me that love in the kingdom of God is slow, ordinary, and persistent work. Every time I drive home now, I pass the river we rafted down earlier this year. And without even meaning to, I find myself turning the music off. I roll the windows down and just listen. It's become a rhythm of remembrance, a moment to smile, to laugh, to replay memories, and to take it all in again. That section of the river has become a kind of stone of remembrance for me, a physical place that marks a spiritual and emotional journey. It reminds me of the challenges we faced, the laughs we've shared, and the growth we didn't always see happening in the moment, but that's so obvious now looking back. Somewhere along the riverbank, our guide spotted a Ruth's golden aster, this tiny, bright yellow flower that only grows in a few places in the world, for only a short time each year. It's rare, endangered even. Most people never see one, and yet there it was. At the time, I didn't quite understand the significance of what I was looking at, but now that little flower has become a symbol of what this year has been. Rare, beautiful, and a once-in-a-lifetime kind of gift, something that not everyone gets to experience, a glimpse of goodness in the middle of all the movement and mess. Similar to the flower, this season doesn't last forever. As I transition out of the Fellows into the next season, I will be staying in Chattanooga and working at the Young Explorer Society and continuing to seek a life marked by intention, rooted in community, and guided by the Lord each step of the way. And with that being said, here's to turning the music off sometimes, letting the river remind us where we've been, and remembering, with joy, gratitude, and maybe just a little bit of how did we pull this off energy, that this has been something rare, something holy, and something worth celebrating. So thanks for being a part of it with me.